Hello, welcome to Introduction to the Visual Arts. Today we're looking at the work of Joseph Albers. This was created about 1930 or so, and what he was interested in is he was very interested in color. And so we're going to do a project based on Joseph Albers' his color squares here, his colored squares. He believed that when you put colors beside each other or next to each other, what they did is they created a different vibration or a different look. And so he gets some very bright colors. And you'll notice that most of the squares are not in the center, so that also gives you another kind of added dimension. For our project based on Joseph Albers, we're going to do something slightly different. You will need a colored sheet, a colored backing sheet from your pack of colors. So you can choose whatever color you want for a backing sheet. I have a very bright fuchsia pink one here. You'll need a half a sheet of a drawing paper from your multimedia pack. This is just cut in half, so this is 6 by 9 inches. You'll need to decide what your backing sheet color will be, and you'll need to decide how you want to glue this white sheet to the backing sheet. Now, some people like to put it this way, some people like it at a diagonal, or some people like it straight on. It's totally up to you where you place this white piece of paper. Now, some people like to put it at a diagonal. Whenever you put diagonals down, it gives you a feeling of movement. So you probably don't want to glue this together until you do the next step. You'll want to take your media pack and you'll want to make some squares. They don't have to be totally square, but I would like you to have about 8 of them. So take the other sheet of this paper that you from your media pack, and you can probably divide this into, I'd say 3 by 3 inch boxes. It doesn't really matter how big they are, but that will just give you about an idea how they could be. So I've got 6 of them, so I'm going to have to take another sheet of paper. Now we're going to create a scale of colors. You can do this with watercolor, or you can do this with tempera. Now what you want to do is each one of these squares, and probably you should have 2 more. You can do it in black and white, or you can do it in a color. It doesn't matter. But every color that you have here, say that this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, this is number 4, this is number 5, this is number 6, and then your other 2 boxes here will be 7 and 8. So color number 1 is the paint as light as you can get it from your paint box or your tempera. So if you're working with tempera, you're going to have to start out with a drop of white, a little bit of white, and then just a tiny little bit of the color you're going to use. So just pick one color. We're not going to do this value scale with a lot of different colors. We're just going to pick one. So I'm going to say I'm going to use some green here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into the water, and I'm going to make this as light as I possibly can paint it. That it's so light that you can hardly see that there's any paint quality to it. The next one is going to be a little bit darker. I'm using watercolor. You can use watercolor or you can use tempera. If you use tempera, you're going to have to darken up your color or lighten up your colors by adding white to it. If you use watercolor, you just let the white of the paper show through. So you can practice to see which one you want. But every one of these boxes, you want to have darker than the one before it. So with tempera, just start with lots of white and a little bit of color, and then just keep going. Darker, darker, and darker. And with watercolor, what you do is, if you want it darker, you have less pigment and more less water and more pigment. So after you have your 8 steps drawn or painted. Now, you can do this, when you do this with tempera, you can also, once you get to the color in the bottle, that's the most intense or the brightest the color will be, and if you still want it darker, you can add just a little bit of drop of black, and then the next one could even be more black. And I'm just going to see here if I can add just a little bit of black to this, because I want to darken this up just a little bit more. So you end up with your value scale in your colors. Now, theoretically, you could do this in every color in the paint box by creating tints and shades. When you add white to a color, you create tints. When you add a black to a color, you create a shade. And in watercolor, the white of the paper is just the white. There's no white to be added, but you can add black as you get darker. So you want these squares to dry. So after you have those dried and cut apart, then what you want to do is you want to decide what kind of scene do you want to make? What kind of project do you want to do? Now, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can do it a couple of different ways. One of the ways is you can do something realistic if you want to. This one is done in black and white, and pieces are cut out and they are applied, and then you have this white paper behind it, and you have this layered dimensional look. Here's the tree, here's some leaves in the bottom, and then you want to use each one of the colors someplace and then apply them together, and again you want to fill up the space. So you have carte blanche as to whether you want to be realistic, or with this one, this is just a design. There's nothing really realistic here, but these are just pleasing shapes that have been cut out in this range of colors coming from the whitest white to the darkest dark, and then just cut out and applied over the backing sheet, which is black, then the white sheet, which is at a diagonal, and then the pieces over the top. These organic shapes are very pleasing because they give you a feeling of movement. You can almost feel the wind blowing as these pieces are being blown over the sheet of the paper. So however you want to do it, you can do it. So with that, I will stop and wish you the best of luck. If you have questions, you can ask them on the discussion board. We will talk to you again the next time. Thank you for your attention.